Hi, I'm Romy.
And I'm Nicole.
We are two businesswomen, two colleagues, two friends who had an idea and decided to do something with it. Over the past 2 years, we've built the Daily Drip, a media platform and community for the modern South Florida businesswoman.
From Palm Beach to South Beach, we've built an audience of thousands of local business owners, CEOs, founders, executives, and more. And we did it 100% organically.
Whether it's through our blog, weekly newsletter, social media, events, or even this podcast, our mission is to offer a daily drop of inspiration as you pursue your dreams.
People ask us all the time how we did it and why we did it. Join us as we bring you along our journey and the journeys of so many other incredible local businesswomen here on Her Pursuit. Welcome back to Her Pursuit. I'm your host, Nicole Mastrangelo. I am the co-founder of the Daily Drip, a community for local South Florida business women, and I am here at the round table with some of the best South Florida business leaders. We have Melia here, we have Maria here, we have Tiffany, and we are all back again to talk more about self-awareness, mindset, and just kind of the importance of controlling your thoughts in business. If you didn't catch last episode, I definitely suggest you go ahead and listen to that, because this episode we're going to be picking up where we left off. And on that note, I want to kick it off to the round table and talk to me about mindset in business. We know mindset's important. Again, another very trendy word. But what does that really mean in the context of leadership, entrepreneurship, mindset? What does that mean for you?
I think most entrepreneurs are inclined to have a growth mindset. I think they're constantly thinking, how can I get better? What's the next level? What's the next step? So, and I don't know if that it's intentionally like leaning towards that growth mindset, but I know that we're piggybacking off of, talking about the self-awareness from, my corporate career that kind of propelled me and helped honestly prepare me for entrepreneurship was the ability to create a strong growth mindset around how can I improve, not just how can my business improve, but how can I improve to be better for my business. So, right. Embracing challenges and looking at them as a way for me to cultivate just a different way to think about things, celebrating small wins, like literally growing through the process and setting myself up for success by almost creating, I like to think about it from Indiana Jones. It's like the booby traps, right? But you almost set them up for yourself so that every time you come upon one, you're like, oh, yep, that's right. That's my reminder to celebrate my small win, or that's my reminder to take a step back and evaluate my progress in where I'm at in this space. So I would say that entrepreneurship, I think, is something I've just always gravitated towards, even when I was in corporate, because I'm very much a self-starter, a self-motivator. But working on that mindset is that is a daily practice. I have Post-it notes everywhere, self-affirming, like you are a queen, because that's what my 16-year-old daughter tells me every day. That's what she calls me. And she does.
You raised her right.
I know. And she tells me I'm going to slay. So all of the things all day. So I just take those types of things that, she shares with me, or that I even, want to believe about myself, and that I do, because we know that when we provide those self-affirmations, we're really reframing and retraining our brain to think in that mindset.
I think what I hear you saying, if we could just pull up to sort of the 30,000-foot view, the mindset is the filter in which all that you think about you, those around you, your business, all of those thoughts are funneled through this filter. And, unfortunately, there's some negative things that are in that filter that we have to learn how to take out and replace with positive things like growth mindset, like believing that I'm capable, that I am enough. And so for me, when I started my journey into entrepreneurship, I felt like I had, again, like this filter. And it's like, Melia, you can recognize, self-awareness is allowing you to recognize the things that are in this funnel. That if you continue to filter your strategy, your entrepreneurial dreams through, they're going to get tainted as they come out the other end. So let's start replacing those. And so doing things like seeking coaching, right? Reading, making time for myself to be still, to be quiet, to be honest about what I like and what I don't like. All of those were things that very early in my entrepreneurial journey, I recognized if I'm going to do this successfully, we got to look at this filter and we got to change some things out and put some good things in so that we can come out of the other end successful.
Change your filter. Like, is it dirty? Got a dirty filter.
It's like the air conditioning filter. Yeah, no, but it's true. And I like that analogy because it really is the thing that shows up everywhere, every time. Your mindset, your outlook is going to affect whether or not you take that risk. It's going to affect whether or not you stall in the process, if you have failure to launch, if it doesn't go well, how you respond to that, how you prepare your team for it. It really is the way you think about things, your outward perspective on your goals, on yourself, on your team, on what you have to offer and the value you bring. It kind of shows up every day. All day. And that is a really good way of putting it. It's the filter. Everything runs through it. How's mindset showing up for you?
There is no need to answer because that was such a great response. I'm serious. I do not need to fill the air with any more words, even though I'm supposed to. That was a great response.
Well,
it's perfect.
I'm interested in the dichotomy because I think, Maria, you're right. The entrepreneurs or business owners tend to very much be a growth mindset. But I would even argue there's like kind of two camps, right? There's the startup, which you have no choice but to be a growth mindset. You're starting something, right? But then when you reach your like graduation from startup and you now have an established business, you're maybe year 5, year 6, year 7. There's two kinds of camps, right? There are the business owners that are very content.
Aggressive. And then
they're very content with what they have. They've created their own cash flow, their own business, their own job in some cases, right? And then you've got the other ones that are perpetually innovating, iterating. They're in growth mode. And so there's kind of like this content mindset where it's kind of like I created my own ecosystem. And then there's like a growth mindset. And so in your world,
yeah, that's okay. Because that has been part of the journey. And honestly, since COVID, which feels like it's not that far away, not for us in our field. That was, I am naturally built to be a what is next, never enough, next. So you're always going. And what's been interesting in the last couple of years is stop. You have this many people who are depending upon you, and the stability of your decisions. The weight of that is significant. If I am constantly moving to the next, if I'm constantly moving, that's a real fear. I'm jeopardizing your stability. You have to feed your family. And so I don't have the luxury of always moving towards the next phase. And in this last couple of years, I've been like, you know what? We're going to take a pause. When we are safe and we are stable, let's just hunker down. Let's just hunker down a bit and get stronger. We've just taken a really big hit. And being comfortable with that's okay too. You don't always have to be pursuing that next. That's been part of my journey as leadership, in a leadership context in the last couple of years. It is okay to not always be pursuing that next. And sometimes the greater whole needs you to deny that need to constantly more, and just sit back and gather strength. And because not everybody handles change well. I mean, sometimes you can change the brand of your pens, and you get picket lines outside of your office. They changed like it's a big deal. Not everybody can handle change. I remember figuring that out. Wait, this wasn't such a big deal. Change is so huge for.
Yes. And I would argue this, but I would just add that choosing the content mindset, the contentment, is a piece of a growth mindset, because I think there's certain people who will aspire to that. They know that there is an end in sight. I want to build. I'm in this growth of literally growing the business. But then there's going to come a time, and I'm going to choose to be happy and be content with what I built. Mm-hmm. And I think that comes down to a little bit of personality and how we're hardwired. I think some people are always just going to be more inclined, and they have to put those like those, like I said, those traps in place to remind themselves to be mindful, take a step back, do some more self-reflecting. And then others are going to be a little bit more strong-willed and, in their constitution to say, nope, I know when I know when enough is enough for me. Right. I'm still working on that because I don't know. I think I'm more hardwired to push constantly and constantly go. And I think I will probably work to some extent till the day I die, but I will do it in a way that I feel is honoring like my mindset, my growth, and how I want to show up in the world. It's not that I would be doing it to be like forced to continue pushing something.
I think some of that is being true to your North Star, right? What did you start this for? Right. What did you get into this business to accomplish? And, what has happened since you started that maybe requires a pivot, or maybe it requires you to hunker down? And are you serving that why, that North Star? Are you still in line to meet that need in which you got on this path for in the beginning? And I think sometimes you can lose sight of that. And even within the year of starting my business, I can say that there's been several times when I've had to slow down and say, you didn't start these businesses for this, right? You didn't start these businesses, to, be miserable, right? And not be enjoying what you're doing, working with, certain clients, your avatar, right? Get back on path, right? To be true to why you set out in the first place. And, that has required several pivots in what I thought would be the original path in the beginning. But it's being aware of the fact that I am, sometimes getting off of, the path that really lured me into entrepreneurship in the beginning, and just being honest about, what that looks like and what changes need to be made and making those adjustments.
So in those changes, either Tiffany or Melia, in those changes, what has been the biggest mindset shift that you've had?
For me, it doesn't have to be my way, right? That even though I'm the one holding the strategy, they're my businesses. You said it earlier, I think maybe in the last episode, that it's really about how it's landing, right? How are people accepting it and consuming it? And is it healthy? And if it's not, it's okay to adjust, right? If you're still being true to your North Star, we can make tweaks. I think I said it on one of the earlier episodes that I was on. For example, with my studio, I had this grand idea of how things would go. Within the first couple of months, I realized I didn't enjoy doing it, and people weren't responding to it. So it's making the shift and not being so beholden to what I had on paper that I allowed myself to die on the vine.
Right.
That's like 3 principles in one.
Warren Buffett talks about that in his book, Tap Dancing to Work. He talks about like the difference between being able to pivot and understanding when that crossroads happens. And that's how being able to recognize that. Yes. Understanding when, okay, it's time to not just tweak this goal, it's time to actually scrap it. We tried it, we thought it would work. It was a great idea in the moment. Not anymore. and now we need to move on. And that's how it was his belief that's how the most successful entrepreneurs turned into millionaires and billionaires, was that ability to identify that and not be so beholden to, nope, but I said I was going to do this. And so come hell or high water, I'm going to do this. Yes, we're going to do this.
And so that's an important mindset. So we've identified growth mindset. We've identified self-awareness, and we had a whole episode on self-awareness, but we've identified that as an important piece of the mindset. And now we're identifying it's important to know when to pivot. Yeah. Know when to hold them and when to fold them.
That's right.
And be okay with it.
Yeah.
And be okay. It's not a failure. It's just a lesson learned. It's an observation that this isn't working anymore. And now what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do next? And having that kind of resilience in your mindset, that fortitude to say, okay, we're going to pick up. I also like what you said, Tiffany, about post-COVID and your organization having to pause. And I think what I've learned 3 years into the Daily Drip, and it's only been 3 years, but I have been in business for longer. But even just with the Daily Drip, I've learned there's seasons, right? And sometimes your season is go mode. You're in the execution season of your business. You've done all the deliberating, strategizing, planning. You've put all the pieces on the chessboard, and now it's time to move, right? And so being able to know what season you're in and showing up with the mindset that aligns with that, right? Because if you're in a pause season, you should come to it with the mindset of pausing is okay. What am I going to learn from this? What am I going to observe in this? And what am I going to do with this information now? If you're in the go season, you're in growth mode. You're coming to it with, I can do this. I have the ability. I am worthy. I will find the answer. If I don't know it, I will. So it's kind of like, when I get asked this question, what makes a strong business mindset, or what should your mindset be in business? I feel like the answer to that is all of them. Like, you really need to be able to put on a different hat depending on what season you're in and what you need to show up for in that moment, in that season.
Thank you for saying that. That's because you keep asking this question, and I'm sure if you're pulling out wide, you can see my face going, I'm so dependent upon the context, because that's exactly what I'm thinking. Like, in what context, in what season should your mindset be? Because it's not just one mindset. So thank you for summarizing that so elegantly, because I've been struggling for 15 minutes going, I can't think of one mindset that's appropriate. It is, there are seasons and there are chapters. And in leadership, you must learn to identify the season you're in and adjust your mindset accordingly. So I'm really struggling with answering the question. That was perfect.
I'm glad.
You did it.
I'm glad.
You said
because
it.
that's the thing I hope most people arise to. And I think that's the thing that most business leaders somewhere along the way come to realize. That, nothing lasts forever. No one strategy, no one mindset. And there's so many entrepreneurial or business related media and podcasts and books. And there's all these thoughts on, resilience and self-awareness and tenacity and all the things. And yes, they're all necessary. Grit. Yes, they're all necessary, but they also aren't all necessary all the time. Right. Each one has a season and a place. Like, when you launch something or when you have an initiative and it goes awry, that's when grit kicks in, right? And when you're going to launch, that's when tenacity kicks in. And when you're pausing, that's when reflection and grace kick in. And you've got to have all the dials on your board and know when you're turning one up and one down. And I think that is kind of like the secret of leadership.
And I think it has to be a part of your day-to-day sort of approach to your business or your company in leadership. And I learned this in corporate. It's, like you said, the seasons, knowing when you're storming and when you're norming. Right? Yes. Right? Like, I am storming, and, these are all of the tools that I need in my toolkit to storm. Like, we are up and down, and, everything's high execution, and we're moving really fast, and we're bringing new team members on, and, things just feel unwieldy and kind of too big for me. But, then we'll get into a season of norming where we've learned how to work together. Yes. The numbers make sense. We're meeting our targets, but then here comes another season of storming. Right? It really is this sort of peak and valley, sort of, or up and down, ebb and flow, I think, rhythm to entrepreneurship for certain.
That is
the rhythm of entrepreneurship.
Rhythm. You keep having
I know.
mic drop moments.
What's going on?
But that is it. It is a rhythm, because the only consistent thing is the inconsistency. Yes. You kind of have to go into it knowing that one year is not going to look like the next. That 1 week is not going to look like the next, and you're going to have moments when you're on top of the world and moments when you're crying in the corner of your office.
Under your desk.
Your desk, preferably.
Hypothetically. Not that that's ever happened to me.
But you've got to know that that's okay, that comes with the territory. And so when it comes to mindset, sometimes the easiest thing you can do is just know what season you're in and which one is appropriate. Like, I'm going through it. I'm feeling it. I need to give myself grace right now. Or, wow, this feels incredible. I am on fire. What can I do with this? I have this fuel in the tank. What can I do with it? I've got to harness it. I've got to put it somewhere, And where you decide to put that and what you decide to do with it, completely up to you. I don't think there's right or wrong answers, but I think that is the point of this episode, is to just know that all the mindsets, all the outlooks, all the perspectives, they all show up. And it's your job to know when you need to shift gears into a different one. But, for some people, it's really hard when you're at that lowest low, things didn't work out right, or they completely bombed, right? It did not go the way you were. Maybe there's, a little bit of humiliation or embarrassment, or you're questioning, can I even do this? Am I even cut out for this? Should I be doing this? Should I, continue going? Is it time to make a change? You're at those really low moments where you're kind of just questioning everything. And so what I am curious about is, how do you each cope? Because I know we have all at this table been in a moment of complete just disassembly, right? And so what is it that you do? What self-talk or what mindset do you pull off the shelf? Or what strategy, tactics do you use to kind of pull yourself out?
I journal. I write.
You journal.
That's the way that I cope with a lot of things. And it stems from, traumatic, events that have happened in my life, or things that I've had to go to therapy for. And as much as I love to talk, those events can and did render me speechless, where I couldn't say anything. And I found myself in front of, a therapist who said, gave me the greatest gift, who said, write, just write. If you can't tell me, then write it. And then you can give it to me. And I don't even want you to hear your own words back. I can just read it to myself so I can understand kind of where we're at, where we can start, so that we know where to go from. And so to this day, I use that strategy to think through how I want to approach something. When I'm doubting myself, it's great for me to write that out and write truly what I'm feeling, because that vulnerability allows me to look at that on the page and feel, to say to myself, do I really feel that way? And when I read it, I realize I don't actually feel that way. Now that I've gotten it out of my head and onto paper, I feel so much better because I've just let it out there. I've released it. I think part of our process of, as we're building a stronger mindset or a growth mindset or whatever season that we're trying to accept or be in, is allowing the space to just accept that that's where we're at right now, and that's okay. But go through whatever your process is therapeutically to get it out of there, release it. Yes. Some people it's balloons, some people it's a message in a bottle, or it's burning pieces of paper. Yeah. It's whatever process you have to do to get through to kind of get to a space where you're you know what, that was really good. I'm glad I did that, because now it's gone from my mind and now I can move on.
Nobody wants to, when you say I journal, the mass reaction, ugh. But I know that. There's strength and there's focus in getting it out of your head, because when it's in your head, and I'm not a therapist, but when it's in your head, it's a mass toxic poison that is not, you're not even able to compartmentalize it. It's just choking you out when it's in your head. You have to get it out. You have to get your jumbled thoughts out on paper. And even if you use separate papers, these thoughts pertain to this concept and these thoughts, you have to get it out. And then you have to focus on what is true and what is right and what is good in your life. And you have to, now here it is on paper, and you go, this is so unkind to myself. This is not even rooted in fact, but yet it's swirling around in my head. So it's getting it out on paper and then taking a real moment to go, what is true? What is actually true and real about this situation? What is real and good about my life?
That is so true, ironically. That is so true, because the negative thoughts we have about ourselves could be in our mind in the same veracity as the sky is blue. Yes. Yes. The sky is blue and I am not cut out for this. Yes. And there is no filtering mechanism in our brain to say,
or metric system.
Yeah, there's nothing to say, what am I basing this on? Yeah. I have a track record of success. Yes. I have all these case studies
that I could literally whip up on if someone else asked me.
If you were asking me, I am not enough, I'm not capable, I'm not cut out for this. If you asked 3 people that you trust, could you please just do this exercise for me? Why do you think I can do this? And let them write out 5 to 10 things, 5 to 10 reasons why they think that you are going to slay this. That would absolutely change your mindset. What is true? What is a fact about your life and your circumstance right now? And just it is a poison in your mind that is choking you out. This mindset of, I don't want to use the word depression, but failure, what failure does to you. And then it's like you just want to I'm done. This is just proof that I can't do this. Finally, the truth has come out. I can't do this.
You have to challenge that. I mean, there was probably about a 2-year span before I transitioned into entrepreneurship when I was still in corporate, where I was literally living, watching my life happen. Right? It was like I was on this hamster wheel, had so many, sticks in the fire, like so much going on. I was going a million miles an hour, traveling around the globe, doing a great job, but I wasn't living. Yes. I was not alive to experience any of it. And it wasn't until I left corporate and I had time to slow down. And for me, it's walks to the beach to journal, to pray, to connect with my creator and the creator's, my creative abilities, that I was able to sort of reconnect with self, to say, yeah, you are living an experience and you deserve to be awake to it, right? And to be connected to it. And it was literally a process of reconnecting with my senses, with my creative ability, with the power that I had within me, that just by the pace of life, I wasn't able to do. And so my encouragement to anyone who is sort of struggling with that area, like really, like I have all these negative thoughts in my head, like I'm living outside of my body, I can see my life going, but I cannot find space to breathe. You literally just have to take it. Yep. No one's going to give it to you. Yes. No one is going to see that you're dying on the vine. No one's going to make time. No, like you literally have to stop the clock. You must.
Only you can push the pause button. Only you. And I think, you all gave such great tips. And at some point, I have used each one of those strategies at some point. But another thing that I think is just kind of to bring it back to the Daily Drip, why this community kind of evolved into what it has been, is because you need a village. You need people that are on the same path as you, that are dealing with the same lifestyle as you, and probably having the same thoughts as you, probably having similar challenges or a version of them. And you need to remind yourself that you're not special, that this is not happening to you. This is the game. And everyone else is playing it and feeling the same thing. And they're all feeling it. And, sometimes you do get an idea or a tip or hope because somebody else overcame it and here's how. Or don't sweat it. This is common in year 1, year 2, year 5. There are these milestones in business where these seasons tend to happen at certain stages for most people. Now, not every business, not every organization operates on the same clock, but most of the time, it's kind of like when you have a kid, right? You got the newborn and you got that newborn stage, then it's terrible 2s and then impossible 3s. And no one tells you about the fuck you 4s, but they're there. Nobody tells you about them. But, and then your kids in elementary school, middle school, high school, and it's all these stages, and business is like a baby. And it goes through these growing pains and stages. And so I have found community to quite literally be my saving grace, so much so that now this whole organization is born out of it. But I don't think I could have been a solopreneur. I was a one-woman consulting agency, and that's lonely and dangerous, because if you have no one to talk to and you're just talking to yourself and you have nothing nice to say about you, you're in trouble. Like, you're in big trouble. So,
and what sets the Daily Drip apart, honestly, from someone who, I disclosed in the last episode that I have crippling social anxiety. So I do watch networking groups from a distance, to try to ascertain, do I really want to be part of that group of people? What sets the Daily Drip apart is it is not a networking group. It is an authentic community of women who are supporting each other through the sucker punches of life. Yes. I've never shown up to a Daily Drip event where I felt like I had to perform, where I felt like I had to be on. There's a moment there, or at least with these events or these experiences that you create for us, that I can just show up messy or polished, completely deflated by the circumstances of my week, or ready to go with gas in my tank. I can just show up and I am received as I am. And I can have real conversations with other people. And it's okay for me to say, this is kicking my butt. And I think I'm ready to just move to Spain because they have free health care. I can say those things, and that is truly a gift. It is a gift to the community at large. What you guys have had the bravery to.
Yeah. I'm glad because I'll be quite honest. I needed it. Romy needed it. We needed it. We needed to have an outlet. It's like a valve release, like to let off the steam of what these days and weeks look like, what the pressure that we put on ourselves is like. There needs to be that release, that place you go, those people you go to, that thing you do that helps you kind of just like release the steam. You've got to have something like that in your life. So
sure, it's no posturing allowed.
Yeah. Look, now Tiffany's doing our branding and our merch. She's going to be in charge of our merch. Yeah. But I think if you are listening to this episode that is all about mindset, I'm sure you're walking away with some unexpected surprises on this episode, because it all starts with self-awareness. It all starts with being able to recognize seasons and yourself reacting to them. And only then can you pull your mindset hat off the shelf, the one that you need for that moment, and be ready. Have outlets on deck. Have strategies for helping yourself heal, helping yourself be motivated, stay motivated. Have those strategies in place, whether it's a village, and I highly recommend that, books, journaling, prayer. Have these things in your pocket and make time for them, because this is a long road. Make time for them because they are as important as a winning marketing strategy. They are that critical to the sustainability of your business. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us for another episode. Thank you guys for sharing so much. This is why I love Her Pursuit. We're all pursuing something. And it ain't easy. It ain't easy, but thank you all for listening. Thank you all for being here at the round table, and we will see you on another episode of Her Pursuit.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Her Pursuit. You can catch a new episode every other Wednesday. Please don't forget to subscribe or follow so that you don't miss out on any of the good stuff.
We love bringing you free content and value to help inspire and motivate you. So if you enjoyed this episode, throw us a thumbs up, leave us a rating, a review, and send this to a friend who you think would enjoy it. Your support is so important to us, and we wouldn't be able to do any of this without you. So thanks for listening. Talk to you in 2 weeks.